hello.
Okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me and you can see me. You can see my screen. Let me know if everything looks good to you. Okay, I'll take it as a yes. Can you also see my screen? I'm trying to share my screen.
I see your camera, but I don't see your screen. I saw it before. Oh.
I guess my screen is way more important than my face.
Yeah, okay, now see your presentation. Okay.
Nice, cool. So thank you. First of all, thanks to POLI.design and Experience Design Academy for having me. Today I will walk you through a very short presentation about how to design an effective portfolio. It's a very broad topic, and I'll try to condense the most relevant information into roughly 20 minutes. And let's see. First of all, welcome. I want to. This is just a streamlined recap of my latest professional experiences. This might be also relevant for the purpose of this chat, because as you can see here, in the latest, let's say, roughly 6 years or 7 years, I work in a design studio, and then I work in a startup, and then now I'm working for a very large corporate. Who is this presentation for? It's pretty much for everyone. So all the visual thinkers, creators, everyone who pretty much deals on a daily basis with visual artifacts. This is just like a streamlined agenda of the topics that I'm going to touch very briefly. First of all, just like a quick disclaimer. I'm giving this presentation in contradiction simply because if you Google for my name, you will probably land on my personal website, but my portfolio is simply not there. Because I haven't got around to it yet, but yeah. So just a quick disclaimer. Yeah. Again, these are 5 pillars that I'm going to present to you today. Let's start with the first one, which is personal brand. So this is one of the most, let's say, famous questions about how to build a portfolio. Probably it's the one of the questions that I also get the most from other students, like, hey, let's talk about the tone of voice, right? Should I use the first person or the third person? Well, no right or wrong. Let's say that both work just fine. Maybe the first one is just a little bit more personal, and the second one is probably just a little bit more professional, but both work fine. What is important here is that you write in your own voice, meaning we should finish. And when I say we, I say like the recruiters should finish reading your portfolio with a sense of who you are, of your personality. And so it's very important also to show passion and to tell a bit about yourself, to make it personal, as I just said, but just a little bit, not too much. Also, this is very important. Don't be afraid of showing failures. When I say failures, I refer to projects that maybe, didn't really end up in a good direction, or let's say that you're not pretty much satisfied with the outcome of that. Don't be afraid. As long as that particular project, this particular case study helps to give a bit more of a sense of who you are, how you work, what's the process that you're using, that's absolutely fine. Sometimes, it's even more important to show failures rather than like a successful project where you didn't, really use that much of the, let's say, of the tools that are in the UX designer toolbox. So it's better also maybe, to show a failure where you learn something. That's way more important. Also, avoid the portfolio and design cliches. What I mean is something like this, right? I'm also an interviewer at Google, and I cannot count all the times that I see the cover of a portfolio, whether it's like a PDF or an online website that starts basically with these words. Like, I design experiences that make people's lives simple. So avoid this kind of stuff. Okay. The second one is the process. When I say the process, I refer to the process that you should follow in order to showcase your work in an effective way. Share how you approach the project from concept to solution. That's the meaning of showcasing your process. Don't just drop a bunch of photos on a medium. Again, it can be like an online website or a presentation without context. And let's say, hey, this is my portfolio. Maybe just the title of the website that you worked on or the mobile app, whatever, and that's it. No, that's like a huge mistake. That's not a portfolio. That's roughly just a little bit more of your Google Photos account. Let's talk about something way more meaningful, which is the storytelling. The objective here, the goal for you, is to make the viewer, so the recruiter, feel something. You will find online a bunch of storytelling frameworks, and I actually encourage you to search for like a predefined storytelling framework. I found this topic very fascinating. But let's say that when we talk about a story, we can always, let's say, distinguish between three different parts. We have a beginning, a middle, and a end. The beginning for you in this case could be the beginning, obviously, of your case study within a portfolio. Can be a hero banner or like a big image, a beauty shot, just to say, hey, this is like the outcome, kind of an inspiring shot of all your work. Then you have the middle of the story, which is obviously very much important. And here you might want to describe your process. You want to show all your design artifacts, like low fidelity artifacts, such as sketches and wireframes, up to very well high fidelity design artifacts, such as polished visual designs and stuff. Also, there is a particular attention that you want to dedicate here. This part of the story is, let's say, the information architecture, right? So all the things that will help the recruiter understand what's the process that you followed for your project. And then you have the end of the story, which is, okay, that said, what was that you accomplished? What was the goal that you accomplished? So the findings, the takeaways, and also the results, the measurable results. We'll think about it in a moment, but everything that will help, again, a recruiter to understand what you accomplished with your process and in general, with just your project, right? Don't forget also to embed your prototype. This is a streamlined example of how to showcase your project. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, your role and team. Again, we'll talk about it just in a moment. But you might want to clarify what was your role within the team. The second step is, okay, what was my brief? What was my goal, right? The objective that I needed to accomplish with my project. Then you start with the usual UX design process, and let's start with the research, right? So all the research initiatives that you have that will help, again, the recruiter to understand that you're not designing something in a vacuum, but you're actually designing something based on some solid user research grounds and insights. Then you might want to clarify who's your audience, so who you are designing for. Then you have like the middle part of the presentation, which is early mocks, early like low fidelity artifacts, design architecture, user flows, sketches, and wireframes will come in a moment. And then you have also, I'm looking at point number 7. Also, you might want to have the result of any user testing initiatives that you had, that you decided to perform. And then finally, you have final polished design, visual design, high fidelity, very polished artifacts. And then, as a last step, the conclusion, what you learned, and also what you have done differently in the future. Like if you had the chance to start again working on this project, what would you do differently? Again, this is just a baseline. This is just to give you like a rough sense of how to structure use like a case study in your portfolio. But this is not a checklist. if you don't have any of these steps, or if you don't want to spend so much time on one of these steps and you want to skip it, it's perfectly fine. I talked before about your role and your team, simply because every recruiter knows that a project, it's, let's say 95% of cases, the result of a shared effort. So it's not just you that you work on a project. So give credit to all the other team members, clarify what was your role within the team, and also like describe you know, how the team was composed. Also, I already mentioned this, include research findings for credibility's sake. So this helps to say, hey, I'm not designing on a vacuum here, or I'm not designing based on just my own assumptions, but I did my research first. Also, this is particularly relevant for the last step, so for the outcome part. Make an impact with numbers. Numbers are good to clarify in a very tangible way, in a very, let's say, analytical way, what was the output of your project. Numbers, statistics, metrics, KPIs, all this kind of stuff really helps, really help. Also, I already touched this, embed your prototype. This is very relevant. I mean, we are using like a plethora of design tools, like even if it's like Adobe XD or Figma or anything else. Please make sure that it's visible in your portfolio. Also, this is like a very general piece of advice that I want to give you tonight is show, don't tell. I think that this is like a piece of feedback that it's relevant regardless of your portfolio or your project. This is relevant for everything, every kind of artifact that you will create in the rest of your career. Whether it's an email or a presentation or whatever, show, don't tell. Just be, you know, very concise and short, and then link all the artifacts. So just have a link in there, one line, and you say, hey, I designed this project. I was like the visual designer. I was the UX designer. I was the UX researcher for this project. Fantastic. Just 2 lines, and then have a link to the case study. So keep any supporting text very short and sweet. TLDR. Also, let's talk a little bit about the medium, right? You cannot code, so you cannot create like an online website. There is a plethora, again, of tools that you might want to use. This is kind of a streamlined, let's say, spectrum of all the tools that are out there. On the left, you have Simplician and Webflow. They are quite popular among UXers. And then kind of on the right, you have other kind of tools that are more popular for graphic designers. I mean, if you don't know them, I strongly encourage to take a look at them. Be aware, though, that you might want also to remove original template text. You might want to register your own domain just to make it a little bit more professional. Also, you cannot code and you don't want to use an online tools. Well, there is no problem. There is the offline world. Personally, my portfolio right now lives in Google Slides, but I often design in Keynote. Actually, what you're seeing right now is design in Keynote. It's probably my favorite slide tool, and it's perfectly fine. It's absolutely fine. Like, you don't really need to have an online website to show your work, to have a portfolio. Portfolio UX. Think about your audience, right? The audience of your portfolio. The recruiter is your user, and your user has typically a 3-second attention span, and so design for it. Design with this in mind. Don't design your portfolio thinking that you are the audience. You are not the audience. Yes, there should be like some, you know, some sort of self-accomplishment in designing your own portfolio. I get that. But you might want to design your portfolio to get a job and not to, you know, to design something that you and only you like. Quick example, streamline your homepage. Logo and easy navigation. This is, I mean, this might sound really, you know, trivial and obvious, but again, trust me, I saw many websites or offline presentations where the navigation and the structure was absolutely unclear. Also, as you can see here, the designer's name and quick intro is very visible. And also, like, the project thumbnails are placed above the fold, very visible, because that's what our recruiter wants to see. And also the contacts are pretty much accessible and clear in the navigation bar. Other piece of advice here, you're only as good as the worst project in your portfolio. Don't forget about that. So don't think to show only good stuff, just one good portfolio, and 4, let's say, not so good projects in your portfolio. That is like another very, very common question. How many case studies should I have in there? Let's say like aim to 3, not more than 6. And they should be very, very like one where you showcase your abilities as a UXers, then as a visual designers, interaction designers, or just different industries. Yeah, so showcase your flexibility and ability to adapt as a designer. But if there is just one message I want to convey to you tonight is this: quality over quantity. Maybe just 2 are fine. 2 case studies, very detail-oriented and polished with a high fidelity of mocks and all design artifacts is preferable. Also, like, should I show side projects, unrelated work, like photography project or whatever? Yes, definitely. Though, just make sure that they don't add noise. They don't distract. Then the fourth one is, you know, how they say, the devil is in the details, right? So you need to present your design in a proper way. Don't just upload raw artworks to your website or to your offline presentation for that matters. That will look very sloppy and unprofessional. Instead, put your design in context, right? So within a device frame, within a browser, or an elegant drop shadow, just don't put your picture in there like this on a white background and you're done. You know, just like as a museum, right? A museum would hang a painting without framing it first, right? Same logic applies to your design here. So devices, use them. It's great to show your work in context, but please be sure to use the latest models. Don't use like a, I don't know, like an iPhone 3, right? And also make sure that image of your design is zoomed enough to capture all the details, because that's what matters, right? Also, out there you have like tons of websites where you can download beautiful mockups. I encourage you to do it, but you know, just be sure that your design doesn't look too generic and, you know, like lazy and trendy. You know, a touch of realism here is preferable. Last but not least, what's next? What's, you know, behind your portfolio once you're done with your portfolio? Guess what? LinkedIn. Absolutely. I know, I get it. I totally get it. I feel you. It's boring for designers and creatives. I know, but guess what? Recruiters are there. I got my job at Google from LinkedIn. Bonus tip, link your portfolio from LinkedIn. Again, obvious tip, but there is a space there when you can link your portfolio. Make advantage of it. Use it. Behance and Dribbble. Yes, you know, Behance and Dribbble are very famous websites for creatives and visual thinkers to, you know, to seek for inspiration and also to showcase your work. But be wary of trendy or meaningless design. So don't put there just, you know, design artifacts for the design's sake. Your exploration, beautiful inspirations without any context. I strongly discourage to do that. And also, particularly on Behance, be aware that in the same space, you are competing with hundreds of other designers. So yeah, think twice if you want to upload your entire portfolio on Behance. And also social media. Social media are great. We cannot ignore them. Instagram, also Medium, you know, to create your own articles or just, you know, to comment on somebody else's articles, you know, and also like Twitter. I personally use Twitter a lot, you know, just to keep updated on what's there. And I personally don't use Facebook anymore. One more thing, we are pretty much at the end of this prezzo. Do your own research. Again, I'm sure that right now at this point, your user research mentality is pretty sharp. So take advantage of it. Use it. Use what you learned to do your research for your own portfolio. So before getting into the portfolio, figure out what kind of job you want and frame your portfolio along those lines. And once you've done that, customize your portfolio, again, whether it's like an online website or an offline presentation, for the kind of role that you're applying it for. That's like a very obvious thing. But again, I saw many times the same portfolio that was used for different kind of jobs, different nature, sometimes even different job role. So yeah, think twice about that. And that was it. So thanks for having me. I hope that this was interesting. And yeah, if you have any further question, I know that there is a Q&A session here at the end of this talk, or just drop me a line, guess where, on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you very much, Bob, for your contribution. Really inspiring and really pragmatical, really ready to use tips. I just have a question. I was wondering, when you talk about the audience of a portfolio, if you think that there could be a difference between a portfolio for getting a job and a portfolio for a professional designer that wants maybe to change or evolve his career, if you think that there's a key difference in between these two goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, just to recap your question, you're saying if there are differences when you need to apply for a particular job in different kind of, let's say, companies, right? I'm understanding your question right, or?
I mean, in more in a strategical and growth level. I mean, what if I'm looking for my first job, and what if I'm looking maybe for a client? Maybe if I'm looking for maybe I'm a freelance and I want to get clients.
Gotcha. So I mean, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, there is not like a unique answer. There is no, let's say, one size fits all. It's really up to you. Like, it's really up to you to figure out what you want to achieve in your design career. First of all, you should have in mind pretty clearly what are, let's say, your personal skills that you want to improve more than others, right? For example, when I started like my career, my design career, it was pretty obvious to me that I wanted to still keep an eye on visual artifacts. So I started as an interaction designer because that's what I studied, that's what I really wanted to do. But I also, in my mind and in my heart, probably, I knew that visual design was still there. And so I tried to, to apply for jobs that where this kind of skills were kind of, let's say, valued, right? And then, like, in every single step of my career, I tried also to, let's say, improve other skills that I knew that were not exactly at the same level as other skills. For example, I desperately wanted, to understand better what service design is, for example, or, to prove myself and go there and run user research initiative on the field, right? So interview people, get out of your comfort zone, do this in your second language. So I tried also to apply for jobs where I knew that the possibility was there to do this kind of stuff. So that's my very quick piece of advice. And specifically about your first job is, right, I guess, is try, to do your own research, just as I said at the end of the presentation, about that particular company. Go there and search for that particular company on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or on Glassdoor, for example, to understand, maybe a little bit of behind the scenes about the company and see if the values of that company are aligned to yours. That is very much important for the rest of your career. Will define also you as a designer in future, I guess.
Thank you, Bob. It's a really transparent and effective way of proceeding, I see. Okay, thank you once again for your questions.
Davide, I'm jealous of your mask. I tried to buy one, but...
Well, I don't want to upsell this.